my name is Gary Barnes. I'd like to talk to you today about how a thermos bottle works. Have you ever used a thermos to keep something hot or cold and wondered how it works? Well, in reality, there's no such thing as cold. There's only different degrees of hot. And a thermos bottle prevents heat transfer from one object to another. Heat is transferred in one of three ways. We call them conduction, convection, and radiance. So let's talk about each one of them and show you how a thermos bottle prevents that. Conductive heat, or conduction, happens when two objects touch each other. So if you touch a hot stove with your hand, you draw it back immediately because it burns. That is conduction heat. Well, the way a thermos bottle prevents conduction heat loss is by not being one bottle. It's actually two bottles in one. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's pretend that this large stainless steel kettle represents the outside of the thermos bottle. Inside of that is another bottle that goes snugly inside. They do not touch each other except right at the very top where they're joined. Since they don't touch, heat cannot be transferred by conduction. The second way heat is transferred is called convection. Convection occurs when either gas or liquids become hot. That's the principle that a hot air balloon works on. It gets hot and it rises. When it rises, cold air comes in underneath. It gets warmed and it rises too. And you get a circulating effect of the air movement. Well, we want to prevent that in a thermos bottle. And the way that is done, this space between the two bottles right here, that is sealed so tightly at the top that you can't get to the space. Then they pump all the air out of that space, creating a vacuum separating the two bottles. So there's no air there to move in the currents. However, when you pour a liquid in here, you certainly could have some heat transference out the top. So to prevent that, they put an insulated cap on it so that absolutely no air can come in contact. The third way heat transfers is a process we call radiance. Radiance happens when nothing touches anything. Molecules vibrate, but they don't touch. And it transfers the heat out through a radiant process. This is how we get the Earth heated from the sun. The sun's heat passes through outer space where there are no molecules at all that could touch. So that's how the bottle works, is it prevents conduction, it prevents convection, and the way it prevents radiance from happening is the inside of the bottle is polished like a mirror. Anything hot inside, the heat tries to radiate out, hits the polished surface, and bounces back in and is contained. Or if you put something cold in it, outside heat tries to penetrate the bottle, it hits the polished metal and bounces back out. So no transference of any kind can happen. That is how a thermos bottle keeps things either hot or cold. Anything you put in there maintains status quo and does not change temperature. However, when we're mentoring someone, we want the exact opposite thing to happen as what a thermos bottle does. We don't want the people we mentor to maintain status quo and not change. We want them to open up and unbottle the contents that they have inside and subject them to the elements of change. Thank you.